Hello, welcome, YouTube people. I am Jess, I am the Lightheart Alchemist. Today we're going to talk about leadership. Excuse me. I didn't really know where to start with this one. Usually I have like a direction when I pick a topic, and then, writing about it is pretty easy when I sit down to do that. But when I sat down to talk about this one, I just got a lot of word association and images of like good and bad leaders. So I figured it'd be best to just start with what I would look for in a leader if I was to be following one. A leader should be competent. If I'm gonna follow you, you better know what you're doing, based on whatever we're doing. You don't want to be following it like somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. That seems kind of like a given, but compassion and consideration. My leader, if I'm going to follow somebody, they need to have empathy. They need to be considerate of not only the people under them, but the people around them who are not under their charge. They need to be sensitive to the needs of human beings and actually give a shit. And then confidence, courage. What do I have? They need to be able to stand up, take charge, and do what's right. Jess Puckett says it a lot. I think it's like courage is the highest virtue or something, which makes sense because, if you lack the courage to stand up against opposition, then, any of your other values aren't really going to stand a chance. Like if you can't, if you don't have a backbone, if you aren't willing to stand up for what you believe in, none of your other virtues really matter. And then the last thing I wrote was that our morals need to align. I'm not going to follow somebody who is actively working against what I know to be right. I didn't want this whole thing to be me complaining about the leadership in the United States, but I am going to take this moment to complain. Donald Suck is none of these things. Our morals do not align. He is not competent. He is not compassionate. I almost gave him confident, but it's very, we need to be careful that we aren't mistaking arrogance for confidence. People who are arrogant do not leave space for compassion. They are self-centered. So, yeah. And then, that's SpongeBob. I was like, all right, let's get some definitions. So I went looking, I looked up leadership, authority, power, control, dominion. It all kind of came down to power and influence. And these are two things that I don't think a leader should be super concerned with. Somebody who's interested in power for the sake of power isn't going to be focused on the right things as a leader. They already aren't. And as far as influence goes, I feel like a leader should influence by being an example, by living out their truth, by walking the walk, practicing what they preach, having integrity. Their integrity is where their influence shines through. A liar should never be given power. They cannot lead. A leader who has to lie knows they would have no followers if they stood in their truth. Never make a liar a leader. Bad things. If your leader is not held accountable, what incentive do you have to have integrity? And then what kind of environment does that breed? If you have a leader you don't feel like you can trust, what is it, what kind of behavior does that breed? To not feel like you can trust somebody, to feel like you're always in the dark, to not know who or what to believe. Paranoia. Anybody? That sounds like paranoia. So yeah, that's kind of it. My requirements, if I'm going to follow: competence, compassion and consideration, courage and confidence, integrity and not overly obsessed with power and influence and control. I feel like a good leader is going to be the person who has to reluctantly agree to being a leader. They aren't out searching for power and control. You know, they just want to do good. And they don't want to control people. Like, I think that is the mark of a good leader. If you don't want to be in power, then it might be a good idea for you to seek out some sort of leadership. But anyway, that was fun. This is fun, right? All right, Squishmallow. I'm gonna leave it there. I hope this helps. You guys have a good day. Be good and be good at it. And I will see you for the next one.